Did you know that mind flayers are super gross? Even in like old school D&D, they're just kind of gross. Squid things that eat your brain just right out. So, welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. So in this week's episode, I'm gonna try and stay a little closer to target as to what I have planned for the episode, instead of hopefully spiraling out of control and getting on my little rants. Because going back and looking at the last video and watching it and getting some feedback from some of you subscribers and people who have watched it. It went a little long, and I'm going to do my best, with very, very few exceptions, to try and keep all the videos to be right around an hour, if not less, because last week's was just a little bit too much. I can't expect people to spare me the time of a late 80s action flick to watch this video all the time. So, as per my my little dramatic intro with that really, really old AD&D setting book for Spelljammer, today I'm going to try and focus on work that I'm working on, and in particular one product that I have contracted out with, and get to discuss how cool it is, and maybe if any of you guys are role-playing nerds like me, that you'll get into it and check it out, because not only will my work be in it in the future, but it's just a cool product, and I'll get into how I got involved with that and stuff a little later when we get to there. But I did want to take a second, because after I went back and I got through my editing on the last video, that I want to make a quick little apology to the company that Matthew Lillard works with. For whatever reason, I don't know if I had just Harry Potter stuck in my brain, but I called it Beetle and Bards, or Beetle the Bard or something, which apparently is somebody from Harry Potter. But the name of the company is actually Beetle and Grimm's. And I'm gonna in the description of the video, I'll go ahead and put the website link, so that way you guys can actually take a look at the products and stuff, and not wonder what the heck I was talking about, because I got jumbled up, word salad fell out of my mouth. You know how it is. So I wanted to correct that oops. So take a look at the description below, and you'll be able to see what the actual website is, and check out some really, really cool stuff that Matthew's doing and that company's doing. Real quick, just kind of bring everybody up to speed. In the last episode, I talked about how Natalie and my wife and I, were taking her art business to her first sales booth up in Chicago this past weekend, and I think it was a success. It was good to have people appreciate her work. She got some commissions while she was there. She got a lot of really good advice from other professional artists. Sold some stuff, as you do, and overall it was a success. I think we've definitely got room to grow, and we had we had some stuff to learn as to how we're going to set things up for new booths down the road. We know some more art projects that she needs to look into adding to her stock, but it was good. It was a good show. It was a fun. We got to see a lot of people. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, because I could go on forever on how cool those shows are and how neat it is to rub elbows with celebrities and stuff. But overall, at least for Natalie's sake, she got to see that people really do appreciate good art, and in most cases are willing to spend a few bucks to take some home with them. So I'm really proud of her, and I'll keep you in the loop you viewers. I'll keep you guys in the loop if new and cool stuff happens with her as well. All right, so before suddenly it's super itchy. Before I go into the meat of everything, I wanted to kind of do a couple of quick little shout outs. This is, again, it's that whole thing of I'm very big into throwing the thanks and the positive energy back out to the people that send it my way. First and foremost, I wanted to thank everyone who whether it was based off of the last video, putting the link in the comments, or maybe it's just somebody who came across it. I don't know, but whatever the case may be, anybody who stopped by our medical GoFundMe and donated or shared it or whatever, thank you. So quick thank you there. And now on to personal thank yous. I wanted to mention that ran into electronically a friend of ours, an actress friend of ours. Her name is Lindsay LaRose. She's been in movies like Allegiant and Ant-Man. She's a Hollywood actress. We got to know her through the convention circuit. I kind of went on my own little sort of, hey, your creative efforts are worth it rant on her Twitter just last night. And I know she's having some struggles. I know she's some emotional type stuff going on, and I just wanted to give her a quick shout out. And if anybody's on Twitter, if they could bounce a little happy message her way and let her know that she's got people in her corner, and she's gonna do good stuff. Setbacks are setbacks, but it's just, I don't like seeing other creative types struggling, and I don't like seeing other creative types, especially super friendly ones like Lindsay, run into those kind of emotional or mental blocks that make you think that you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. So if you've seen anything she's been in, or really if you just kind of support the general Hollywood movie atmosphere, I'll put her Twitter handle in the comments below. Throw her a happy message and be like, hey, you got this. And so now personal shout outs. I have got to thank a subscriber and a friend and a fan who I met personally now at a couple of different shows, who made me, at Gen Con last year, made me get all teary-eyed by bringing me a nearly 20-year-old book to sign. It's awesome that I get to stay in touch with some of these people, and through Facebook or through whatnot. And it's a friend named Philip Deshawn. I hope I pronounced his last name right. Quick story about Philip. He was a avid Dark Age player. Obviously still is. Plays lots of other games, and apparently got started way back in the War Machine days. And somewhere along the lines, he either heard me on a Facebook Live video, or maybe just put two and two together looking at the contribution lists on these books, but saw that War Machine Prime was one of my original babies. And after a Dark Age tournament that went late, we're all hoarse and hard, throats hurting from yelling at players and announcing times and things. We were cleaning up the tournament area, and he brought over his paperback copy of War Machine Prime, and asked if I would sign it. I haven't been a privateer for a long time, but it had been a long time since I've even seen that book, aside from on my own bookshelf. And it was was very touching to know that there are still things out there that I'm remembered for that aren't, the goldfish memory away. Like, it's not, the world has turned since then. And so it was really neat. I hadn't signed a privateer book in ages, and it was very touching, and reminded me a lot of why I do what I do. And so I consider Philip now, not just a fan of the work, but he's actually a friend. We've talked several times online at conventions, and very recently I pointed out that I want to get into a little miniatures game put together by a company that we'll talk more about in future episodes. A little game called Wild West Exodus. And Wild West Exodus is a fun little skirmish game that I still have yet to play, but I've read a little bit about. I've looked at the models. They look really sweet. And it comes very highly recommended from another Dark Age associate, Mike Pierce, a gentleman who I showed how to play Dark Age at PAX East or PAX Unplugged or something a couple of years ago, and he has since become one of the best demo volunteers. I'm going to show you how to play this game. I'm going to get you excited about this game. Easily one of the best ones I've ever seen. And I've been in the industry a long time. Mike is amazing. And he's been poking me about getting into Wild West Exodus, and talking to War Cradle Studios, and you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And so at the last show I was at, I took a look at the game, I took a look at some of the models, and I was like, all right, maybe I do need to get involved, take a look at this. And so I've been a little more active on their Facebook page and forums and whatnot, talking about things and trying to figure out what I want to do. And kind of out of the blue, Philip, the aforementioned awesome Philip, reached out to me and was like, hey, I've got some stuff lying around. If you want to get started, do you want this stuff? Far be it from me to ever, turn away, gifties. But so in the mail, just late last week, I get to show you gifties. This legendary Captain Nimue, she's some kind of mercenary model with like this cool like steampunk worm tail thing. I haven't got it actually assembled yet because I've been so busy, but it's really cool. This apparently is some kind of promo figure. It does not come with a stat card, so I don't know what she does, but Philip says that it's amazing. And also a 2-player mini starter box that has the Union versus the Warrior Nation. So effectively, Cowboys and Indians, effectively, but steampunky. And the models look pretty great. I'll see if we can get... They look pretty cool. Obviously, I'll end up putting them together and paint them and stuff. Because I don't even know what faction I want to play. I don't know a lot about how the game plays. All I know is it looks neat. I have a lot of faith in War Cradle as a company. And between Mike and Philip and my buddy Jan, all fans of their work, speaking very highly of the game and very highly of the background and the fluff and so other things going on behind the scenes. I need to get into it. I want to get that stuff put together, and so maybe over the next couple of episodes, maybe I'll get some of those guys put together and give you some updates. Maybe get a little paint on some of them, and show you some of the things that I'm doing. But so that's what I wanted to mention. I guess I should probably mention, I bought it. It's not like a gift or anything, but I'm wearing some Death Saves gear today from the amazing Joe Manganiello's kind of 80s, 90s hair metal styling for, Frazetta Conan style merch company. that he has based a lot of this stuff on kind of a D&D motif and genre. Um, it's cool stuff. It's good clothes. It's neat to have kind of a D&D themed brand name. It's neat. Because knew I was going to be recording today for mostly a role playing themed episode, I wanted to sport some role playing wear, so I made sure to dig out my Death Save shirt. So thank you, Death Saves, for having awesome stuff. Again, not a paid sponsorship or anything. I just want to say, I mean, mind you, if they wanted to send me stuff, I would never say no. But it's cool stuff, and I just want to show it off. Yeah, so let's get into what I've been doing. It's a lot of the same from last week. Kind of extending some projects, wrapping up on a couple of things, digging in officially. I did get some permission to discuss a few things, but I still have to keep it vague. I am starting 2 separate projects with Catalyst Game Labs, specifically in their Shadowrun line. I know a lot of you guys might be familiar with Shadowrun either through role-playing or there's a couple of card games out. They bought a board game of mine a few years ago that is not yet in production. The role-playing game, there's been some video games. But it's a big name. Shadowrun has been out there doing, mixing mixing fantasy with cyberpunk for, I think this year is it's like 30 years. It's like the 30th anniversary, I think, is this year. But it's pretty cool. I'm a big fan of the world. I didn't used to be, which is kind of a weird thing to say, as I just mentioned that I'm doing work within the world now. About 10 years ago, I would say that I really didn't care for Shadowrun as a world. It didn't speak to me because I had never seen it in the right light, I suppose. And one of my best friends in the whole world, a gentleman by the name of Brian Martin, Brian has been Shadowrun forever. He has always spoken so highly of Shadowrun, and I've seen him run other games, and I've seen him, he'll go to a convention and get to play in special events and things, and it's just always one of those things where I watched it and I was like, I don't know. And finally, he planned to put together a game, and I said, you know what, I'll gladly play. I'll give it a shot. If it sucks, then I won't. You can get my character killed off, and I'll go do something else. Or if you have to deal with the fact that I might make fun of the game system or whatever. But either a combination of the character I was playing, the people I was playing with, or even Brian as a game master, I had a blast. I had so much fun. And it really did kind of open my eyes to what Shadowrun as a story really could be. It wasn't all just, I've got cool stuff and magic and orcs and goblins and laser swords, and it wasn't what I thought it was. And I am a big enough person to admit when I'm wrong. And in this case, I was definitely wrong. Shadowrun is an amazingly rich world. It's got a super cool background. Really neat, interesting concepts and twists on some of the fantasy tropes. And as the game engine itself, the role-playing game engines, as they have progressed, they think they're on the 5th version currently, the 5th version of the rules, and each version gets a little better, and in some cases leaps better. I think the leap from 4th to 5th was fantastic. It is a really, they're obviously learning from some of the older versions' mistakes. They're obviously playing these games and determining, it's not just throwing numbers on the page and go, I think that looks right. They're actually giving it a test and making sure that this stuff works. And it's fantastic. There's an organized play that plays through, I think it's called Shadowrun Missions. They do like seasons of missions that you get to do. And you get to bring your character to conventions or to the game store and say, hey, I've played through chapters 1, 5, and 7 or whatnot of that particular season, and it's cool. You get to see kind of firsthand what Catalyst and the Shadowrun team have planned for the world and for their story, as well as you get that kind of feel of you are part of a larger animal, part of a larger story. So long story, not so short. Bryan got me into Shadowrun. He got me to see that I did not have the right of it initially, and I got to see that it's a really cool place and it was a really cool setting. And so what I did is I really kind of dove in. I read some of the original novels, I bought some of the older books, and I couldn't get enough. I chewed the scenery like nobody's business. I dove into that lore, and it was I think we've played 3 or 4 different Shadowrun campaigns in that time. I've done several like convention one-offs. I've even played in a couple of those Shadowrun mission events that I was talking about, where I get to take my guy and move it around. It's a really cool thing to. In this case, it's really cool to be wrong, because if I would have been stubborn and been like, man, no, Shadowrun's lame, and just kept on going with it, I would have never been able to be a part of all the different stories and characters and business ventures and things that I have now. So if you can take away anything from that little piece of story, is even if you think something on the cover, like when you start talking to someone, they're like, I want to run a My Little Pony role-playing game, and it exists. Don't knock it. Immediately some people will go, really, MLP? Bleh. Why would you do that? That's so stupid. Give it a shot, man. Give it the right game master, the right setting, the right group of people, and just about anything can be really cool. Whether or not the system backs up what it is, or maybe you don't like a particular dice element, a particular marketing strategy, whatever. But you might be able to find, you could be in a situation where you were wrong about it and it ends up being awesome. It ends up being a bright spot in your life. And so because I was shown the error of my ways about Shadowrun by my buddy, I have always had kind of one eye on what Catalyst is doing. And a handful of years ago, I poked them about possibly doing some work for them, and they put me on a project, bought the results of that project, and hopefully at some point you guys will get to see the fruit of that labor. But even since then, some of the things from that design, that board game, some of the stuff has trickled out into other projects, which is awesome. It's super neat. I remember we were at, it was Gen Con last year. I think it was 2 years ago. And Brian Martin, the Shadowrun guy, bought a copy of a dice-based card game, I believe, that had a bunch of character cards in it. And a couple of the character cards, when we were flipping through, a couple of those names looked really familiar. And I was like, they used some of the characters I built for my board game. And now the reason why that struck me as, could it be just an absolute coincidence, use a sci-fi name to put to this thing? Absolutely. Except for the fact that most of these characters that I was recognizing are characters that I have. The reason why they exist in the games is because they existed in the role playing chronicles that I was in. Whether they were NPCs or whether they were like a fellow player's character or my own characters. So I recognized these names because it's like, oh, hey, that was my friend Chris's character, or that was my guy from Brian's Washington D.C. campaign, or whatever. So it was neat, and then we were sitting down and playing this game, and I was like, well, that's kind of interesting that they were using these characters from the board game, and so we were flipping through the book, and it was cool. They even thanked me in the rules, in the rule book. I got a special thanks for. It didn't specifically say, hey, special thanks for design elements, but it was like, special thanks to, Brian Steele for, helping with this product. And it was neat. It was a cool surprise. Flipping through and be like, whoa, my name's on something. That's fantastic. I know they've got a new board game that went through Kickstarter and is, I believe, shipping soon. I'll be interested to see if any of my characters or things like that made it into that. But again, it's cool. I always dig kind of that whole pebble in the water aspect of things, and whereas my project from a few years ago was the stone that got thrown in the water, I like still seeing some of those ripples. So fast forward to just recently, a couple months back, where I stopped, where I was no longer a staff producer at CMON Limited, and went back to freelance. So as you do when you're a freelancer, you start, chumming the water, so to speak, and started looking for work. And one of the shows that I went to while I was in that process was an amazing more or less role-playing based show called GaryCon, up in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, named thusly because it's the memorial show for Gary Gygax, put on by Luke, his son, and others. And at GaryCon, I happened across a gentleman that one of the owners of Catalyst, and I spoke to him there, and I was like, "It's so cool to see you here. Hope you're having a good time. I know you guys have some events here, some Shadowrun events, that kind of thing." And during that conversation, I was like, "Hey, I am looking for work again. Do you need anything?" And he's like, "Hit me up." And fast forward some emails and some Facebook conversations and back and forth, and even one in-person meeting in Chicago. And I was assigned a big chunk of fiction work, and some work on some upcoming role-playing stuff. So getting to do the board game was cool, and I still love it, and I hope that it gets to see the light of day, and that you guys will love it when it eventually comes out. But the knowing that I'm getting to actually add to the narrative of the world, and get to kind of play the fictionalist, play wordsmith in the Shadowrun setting. I'm really excited about that. Again, a big thank you to my buddy Brian. Otherwise, I would have never wanted these gigs, let alone scored them and really enjoy getting to mess with them. So thank you, Brian, and thank you, Catalyst, and thank you, Shadowrun. Speaking of which, when I asked permission to mention that I was doing work with Catalyst and that I was working in Shadowrun, a little birdie told me that just next week, on May 1st, that you guys should watch. I'm going to put the website address in the description. you guys should watch their news sites and things, because Shadowrun is going to have a really cool announcement on May 1st. So, you know what to do. Click the link. Watch it. But yeah, so working on Shadowrun stuff, and doing all my rando social media things and getting cool gifties in the mail. But one of the things that has really taken up a lot of my time lately, a lot of my work time, my professional time, and to a certain extent, some of my personal time too, if you think about it, is a little company called Dungeon in a Box. So Dungeon in a Box is exactly what it sounds like. Apparently, I missed out on the Kickstarter. There was a Kickstarter for it a couple years ago to kind of get them off the ground as a company, and I had never really seen it. I would say about maybe 6 months ago, I saw a Facebook ad for this. It was a really cleverly put together Facebook ad that was like, for roughly $30 a month, you can get effectively an adventure, a dungeon crawl in a box. And I was like, you know what, I'm interested in it. That's kind of a neat idea. And so I clicked on a couple of user profiles and looked at some of their some descriptions of what's in this little company and what you get in the box. And everybody had really good things to say. Overall, gamers can be pretty passionate about the things that they love or don't love, and they can be extremely hyperbolic when it comes to describing things that they don't love. So I was very careful to look for all those buzzwords that you hear, and ignore that stuff. But I didn't have to. There wasn't really any major negative reviews. Most people that took the time to acquire, either whether they backed the Kickstarter or if they subscribed after the fact, or if they bought it on just a monthly basis, like, I buy it this month and I'll buy it again next month if I want a second one. And most everybody had good things to say. And the couple of, drawbacks or negatives that I saw were minor, like really minor, especially considering that it's a $30 box. It's no different than taking, if me and the wife and one of the kids go to a movie, it's less than that. So I was like, all right, well, I'll go ahead and get a subscription, and we'll see how it is. In worst case scenario, you're not signing up for, a giant amount. You're not signing up for, a fortune's worth of stuff. You're just, you can buy it by the month. And so I was like, I'll buy 1 month and see where it goes. And I got this box in the mail, and immediately pop it open, and I was so happily surprised. I'll go through kind of what comes in a box, but I popped open the box, and like the first thing that I found that I was like, well, that's neat. Well, there were 2 blisters. Blisters being the packaging that a lot of miniature companies use. There were 2 Reaper blisters in there. These are just some examples. I don't have them in the blister anymore because I took them out to use them. But like, it was like a couple of some of the little Bones figures, the inexpensive role-playing figures, and then there was one of the older metal ones. So there's 2 blisters in this box, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Weird, comes with minis. And it so happened that one of those minis was perfect for an NPC in the story that comes in that box. The other one, not so much, but it was neat. It adds to your collection. It adds to stuff that you can use. And then one of the other things that caught my eye, because I'd seen them on like on ads or in other people's tables, or like if I had strolled through the game store once and saw them on somebody's map. But it also came with, they're called flat plastic miniatures from Arknight Studios. Were the ones that came with that first box, and it came with like this little owl bear. It comes on it has a base. I glue mine to my bases so they don't get all messed up. But it comes with bases, clear bases, so you can put it on the map and walk them around. And it came with like 6 or 7, like 3 goblins, a couple of wolves. Basically everything you needed for 1 or 2 of the encounters that are written in the book came in this box. So not only did it come with a couple of the Reaper's blistered figures that you could use for anything, but it also came with this little miniature plastic page of these flat pack minis. And since I had never really messed with them before, I was like, these are so cool, and like I dug the snot out of them. I popped them off of the page onto the bases, and at this point, it sort of started a little bit of an addiction for me. At this point, I have gone to Arknight and bought more, like from their collections, like not even the ones that are just in the dungeon and boxes, like actually just from their collections, because they're just cool. It's cool, useful little miniature dudes. I used them at GaryCon for the events that I was running, because it helped me keep track of things. It helps me, especially when you're on a timed event, like a convention event, where you don't, you want to describe everything because you want to be a really good DM. You want to get people into it, but sometimes it is easier and faster if there are physical depictions on the map. And while I can go into great detail about this pack of goblins and wolves, I can also, if it's not that important of a scene, like it's necessary, but it's not necessarily the big end bad guy or anything like that, I don't want to spend a half an hour telling you about all of these different critters, where I can just put these flat packs out, and most people at the table can look down and go, oh, geez, all right, there's 3 goblins, there's 3 wolves. What's this tall guy? He looks like a wolf man thing. Wolf man thing? Ah! So like there's cool stuff that you can do with these. And again, more importantly, came in the box. I'm going to go ahead and pop open this box. Now, mind you, this box right now has more in it than what it came with, because I'm using it to store some of the stuff that I'm using in the game. So before I do that, so basically I took a look at this box and I was like, how cool is this? What a neat little thing. And it came with, let's see, there we go. I'll do this first. Oop, I dropped stuff. So it came with this, the Caravan of Peril is the box 1 of the Secrets of the Greenwold, which is basically this sort of setting neutral fantasy D&D setting that you could, with a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of adjusting of things, you could put it just about anywhere. Like you could make it a little darker and insert it in Ravenloft. You could make it a little higher on the magic side of things and put it in like Forgotten Realms. Accent the war aspect of things and put it in Greyhawk. Well, I don't think it would work in like Dark Sun or Spelljammer, obviously, because it's not on a ship. But more than anything, it just could be an interesting day's events if you wanted to, like if your D&D game kind of hit that sort of plateau between plot arcs, you could totally use this as a session or 2 of neat events that you could do. And more importantly for me, I took a look at this and it specifically said, hey, this adventure book is designed to take a set of characters from level 1 to level 2. So starting level characters, basic people. And so I reached out to a bunch of my friends and was like, hey, who would like to play in a game? More often than not, when I run a role-playing game, it is not ever from a book. It is almost always my own world, my own setting, whether, all the notes and things are in my binders and stuff. Very rarely do I go into someone else's written encounters and things. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. It'll be fun. It'll be a way for us to blow off steam. And I won't lie. Initially, I expected it to be just a goofy hack and slash schlock fest of let's go and just kill some monsters and save the prince or princess and make some riches and just have a day. And so I got this group of people together, these group of characters, and we ran through that first book in a long first session. But we had such a good time with it, and overall, seeing a lot of the little plot devices, a lot of the foreshadowing of stuff to come, I was intrigued. I was like, this feels like the first chapter of something. And sure enough, elsewhere in the book, there is this map. Secrets of the Greenwold. There's a map that's got like this little section of world if you want to run in their world, but also on the back of it, it's got an adventure tracker. And now on this, you'll see we've got a couple of these already on here. When you get it, it's totally blank. The adventure tracker, at the end of that first book, at the end of Caravan of Peril. You get, there's some storyline decisions, like did you do this, did you do that, did you save the day, did you let the monsters go, or whatever. And depending on how you worked that out, you get to apply they're called legacy stickers. You get to apply one of the legacy stickers to your adventure tracker, and that alters your party's abilities. Really minor stuff, nothing game breaking, but it might be, hey, in this adventure, if you helped the prisoners escape, then put this sticker on here, and then from there on out, anytime that you have an opportunity to or anytime you're called to make like a skill check against the man, against authority, you get to do it with advantage once per session. Something like that. It's just little tiny things that's cool storyline, character-wise stuff that allows you to remember where you've been before, what you've done before, and it makes it so it's not just cookie-cutter D&D. There's more to it than that. And so there's this map, and there's this adventure tracker, and there's these stickers, and there's this book, and there's this flat pack, and these minis, and then there's also like little cardboard tiles of terrain and stuff that come in the box that match up with one of the encounters or multiple encounters within the box, because it also comes with, let me see if I can get this out without making a giant mess. It also comes with like a full, like fold out, like the kind of thing that you'd spend like real money on, a two-sided, like a little two-sided adventure map that should fit the idea of that scenario, or possibly future scenarios. Like for instance, the one that comes with that first box is like a forested road and a campsite, like one side than the other. And I've used that map. Sorry, I dropped the thing. I've used the roadside map now, I think 4 or 5 different times, for different parts of different adventures. One of the later adventures has this really cool inn that, I mean, like, who doesn't run games that occasionally have people stopping in an inn? Boop, there you go, you got a map for it. So map, tiles, all these other things, all came in this box. And again, it was a cool intro story. It was a neat way of getting people in, and it is neutral enough and just in it enough, like just like gives you some details that it makes you, if you wanted to run it in their world, their storyline, their arc, you totally could. Or you could do a couple of tweaks here and there, make it your own, put it in your own world, or put it in an existing world, or whatever. And so I went ahead and said, I'm going to keep up. I told these players, I'll say, you guys did a great job. Super, having so much fun doing this. I'm just going to keep up the subscription and keep getting these boxes, and we're just going to keep running this game, and we're going to have super fun. And I think at this point we're on like box number 3 or 4 as far as like where the characters are at. And sure enough, every box, the guys at Dungeon in a Box, the managers over there, when you do a subscription or when you do your purchases through them, they keep track of which boxes they've sent you. So your next box that you get is the next chunk of the story. So you actually do get a progressive story in this Greenwald, this world of theirs. And it's neat. It's cool. You can tell that they put a lot of love and a lot of interest into it. So now I'm going to get to tell you the actual book. Besides there being encounters and things, but it also has it always has one. Let's see, where are you? It's got some random tables for like generating. Oh, that's really bright. For like generating characters in this area, or oh hey, this tavern's filled with a bunch of angry drunks. I'll roll to see how angry they are and how drunk they are, or whatever. It also has a cool NPC in each one. In this case, probably one of my favorite gnome names ever, Findal Dinfizzle Findazzle. And he's part of the story. He's going to be part of what you've got going on in the game. But it's just open enough that if I wanted to, I can give him my own personality. I can give him some extra plot art type stuff to ingratiate him to particular characters in the game. Like he's not so set in stone that you're going to go, oh, well, my party is going to just shiv this guy and leave him on the side of the road. I can change a few things and make him work. And then, then there's a bunch of encounters. Sometimes there might be like the occasional like odd little magic item, to add in. And then at the end of every book, there's also one new monster, new monster type encounter that it's just cool to have those added. Like I know that a lot of people, the monster manual has a lot of cool stuff, but you only can have so many goblins. You can only have so many types of giant before your veteran players might feel that your wheels are spinning and you're like, oh, okay, well, we're fighting this guy. He's got 210 hit points and armor class is 19, and 3 times a day he'll do this. Because again, all that stuff is stuff that they know, because if they played a lot, or they own the monster manual, they probably know that or a very general idea. These little extra monsters allow us as dungeon masters and players to be surprised, or to surprise our players. And I think that's cool. It's a neat little add-on. So all of this comes in the box, which is super cool. Again, I don't mean this to sound like a commercial, but I just want to wow about the product a little, because it is really cool. It also comes with, every box so far has come with really, Brian? Someone better comment on that. That's awful. I'm a wordsmith, damn it. But it comes with an enchanted wand of writing. It comes with a pre-sharpened pencil, and that's again, is that a big deal? No, but it is, aside from like dice and characters and like the 3 main rule books for D&D. It comes with everything you need, including a pencil. So I always thought that was cool. So I started running these. Okay, so enough about the products. I started running these for my friends, and when I flipped over to freelance again, and I was looking for work, I had like the weekend after I went freelance, I ran one of these Dungeon in a Box for the group. And when I did that, it struck me as, I wonder if them as a company, if they've got multiple writers, if they've just got one guy writing this ongoing story, he's got to be pretty busy. or they or whatnot. And so I reached out to the company and was like, listen, I'm looking for writing work. I've done a bunch of stuff in the role playing industry. I love your product. Um, what do you think? And so we had a conversation and, some email messages back and forth and a phone conversation that went really, really well. And at the end of the day, I was basically given a much later box than where I'm at in the story. So I needed to have a little bit. They had to give me a little foreshadowing to tell me where things go in their story to get there. Because obviously I don't want to write something that's gonna be, countermanded by the canon of the boxes that come before it. But overall, I read through everything and I took a look at it. It was really cool, and so we sat down and I was assigned and I was contracted one of the later boxes in this arc, and hopefully in the next 24 hours or so, I've been really slamming out those words because I know that that deadline is approaching quickly, and I want to get that out the door and get that to the company so they can take a look at it, and hopefully get it edited, and we'll get it sent out, and I'll be excited to eventually get my players to that point, or hear back from people out there in the world that already subscribe and then they get this product. But I'm hoping I have a very, very good feeling about where I'm taking my part of the story, how I was given pretty broad strokes as to, hey, this is what needs to be in your box, and I hope that I hit on all those elements properly and set the stage well enough so like the next box can carry on, and we'll get to maybe new and future things with the company, with the series, and with these dungeon in boxes. Because I really love it. It's a neat thing, and it's a neat concept, and I wish that I had something like that when I was in high school, or hell, even in early college. Something where if I just didn't have the time and I just didn't want to get down to the game store and pick up that most recent source book, something to get me going on a monthly basis just shipped to my house would have been awesome. I'd have been pretty happy with that, and I am happy with it now. But yeah, so that's working with them and working with that product and working with their story, but now making it partially my story, and getting to expand on things and add stuff to their world. It's always something I've loved to do. And so this week has been a lot of fun between Shadowrun stuff, and that's going to go forward in the next couple of weeks too. This Dungeon of Box Greenwold adventure arc, and getting to do some miniature stuff with a company called the game is called Broken Contract. The company is called Stonehammer. Am I right? No, Breaker Press. Breaker Press is the Broken Contract. So it's a little skirmish miniatures game that is neat, very story driven. I'm doing some writing for them, and getting geared up for some new things right around the corner. Waiting for some calls back from a couple of companies that are talking to me about things. So it's been a good couple of weeks. Hectic deadlines always toward the end of the month when you set your deadlines up that way. I may have set myself up with a few too many things for the end of the month, but who needs sleep when I have games? Who needs sleep when I have games? Can I be my catchphrase? No, that's a terrible catchphrase. But yeah, so it's been good. We're coming to the close on a couple of projects, get them sent off, and then start some new things up. I've got a lot of fiction work coming in the next couple of weeks. A couple of different novellas that I'm working on. So yeah, solid. And then role playing in between when I get an opportunity to try and throw some dice, and whether I'm being a game master or whether or not I'm playing, just to kind of blow off some steam and get out there and enjoy some fantasy worlds. So I'm getting on that, getting close to that hour mark, where I said I wanted to wrap up on. So we'll go ahead and get close to the. We'll get to our closing. The description of this video, I'm going to put a bunch of links in it for a lot of the products and things that I talked about today. Again, I want to express that these aren't like paid sponsorships or anything like that. It is literally anything. I'll let you know if it's a corporate deal. Otherwise, it's just stuff that I'm really excited about, and I want you guys to be excited about, and I want you to have access to. Hopefully, get into these things too. So maybe in a future episode, or in the comments of these episodes, you'll be like, "Oh my God, I signed up for Dungeon in a Box," or "Oh my God, I saw your thing on Shadowrun. It's the coolest." Whatever the case may be, I just want to make sure everybody's got all the information and all the resources that they can access stuff properly. If that makes any sense at all. I hope this was a good episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed me, chit chatting about products and stuff that I'm working on. And if you have any concepts or any ideas of things that you want me to talk about in the future, or topics that you want me to look at, put them in the comments. And be sure to share the videos, subscribe, and as always, we're all gamers here. Otherwise, we're all gamers. We're all nerds. We wouldn't be here otherwise. You wouldn't sit through an hour or more of me running my jaw about stuff if you weren't. And I just hope everybody's out there having a good time. And I'm gonna play some games, and you should too. See you next week.